Well, Geek Protagonist here, since I'm waiting, trying to pick up some food for people. So I actually came across that Vanity Fair article with the writer. I think his name was Chris Stroder. I apologize if I don't remember his name. I kind of just saw the thing, kind of went over it. And he was talking about Warner Brothers and how Warner Brothers doesn't, or at the time when they were coming up with all these announcements to DC, the DCEU, they had no plan. They literally thought, let's just make a bunch of announcements, which would explain, and people speculated it. I mean, heck, even I speculated it. Why things would just drop. Like now they have the deep drop or the trench, right? And it's like, he's like, they had no plan. And I'm like, that makes sense, because when Zack Snyder was doing Man of Steel 2, they're like, no, we need Batman. They made the Spider-Man 3 mistake. Yeah, where it was like, well, we're going to throw these things on here. Now, whether you love BVS or hate it, I watched the director's cut. I think people go overboard with how bad it was. I've seen lot worse films. What they released in theaters was a little bit chopped up, though. But like I said, when it comes to the DC films, I actually only acknowledge the director's cuts as the main functions. But it explains a lot, because but then it's like, wait, so why did you tell Zack Snyder no when he wanted to do the Atom? Like, how are you making decisions? How are you making decisions in telling people no? But the guy apparently was like, all right, I just named all of it, make sure all these things come out. And apparently when they had an announcement for Wonder Woman's movie, they didn't even have a script idea. Sorry, had to stop for a second. So, as I was saying, like, they didn't have a plan. And it's like, well, how did you guys make decisions and you don't have a plan? Like, how does that work? It's like, what were you just thought? Apparently, homie was like, yeah, it'll just work itself out. And that's one of the funny things that happened, because nobody believed the MCU was going to work. Well, let me rephrase that. None of the studio executives who are in charge of most things that, honestly, I feel don't actually know how to do their jobs most times, because they make weird decisions. Like, I remember being a little kid, and I remember like when I would see like Batman. So let's talk about, even though, not talking about the movie, just something he said. So in Batman and Robin, when he goes, I bet Superman doesn't have these issues. I'm like, yeah, what would make it better? If I could see Superman and Batman. What a concept. And it's like, people want to see these superheroes together, just like the cartoon shows and shows and things that people grew up on. And it was like the studios couldn't connect the dots. Well, you got Kevin Feige, who had an idea, connects the dots, it works like gangbusters, to a point where people kind of overhype the MCU. Listen, I love the MCU, but not every movie is a golden goose. And people be acting like, this thing got this 96, and I'm like, no, that movie was not that level. But they got the golden goose. And it's like, all of a sudden, all these other studios were like, okay, and it always happens when it's music, or if it's a movie or a TV show. When something gets popular and it's new, and somebody took the risk and they made it, right? All of a sudden, everybody tries a copy of it, but they scramble really fast. And it's weird, because it's like, how have you not learned the lessons after like 40 years of doing this? Like, you executives, this is stupid. So they try to rush these movies out, don't have plans, don't have no connective tissue, then let Zack Snyder carry the ball when everything goes bad with the Snyderverse. Come to find out, it's not even really a Snyderverse. It's just Snyder was working on what he was supposed to be working on. They were trying to get things together, and the studio was just too busy not letting them do any guidance. It was the same thing when they tried to make the Dark Universe with the Mummy after they had Dracula Untold, which I was like, you should have just started with Dracula Untold. That movie was fine. Then they do this thing with Tom Cruise where 1 minute, like, I hopefully one day I have to try to review that movie. I know I say this a lot, but one day hopefully I'll remember and get to it and get in the mood for it, because it doesn't make sense either. Because it was like, they were like, okay, well, we're going to make a connected universe. So they threw all these elements in there, and I thought Sofia Boutella did a fantastic job as the mummy, though. I will say that. But it's like, even Tom Cruise's character, it felt like two different scripts. 1 minute he's joking about death and stuff, and then the next minute he's like being super serious. And it was like, what? And it kept switching back and forth and getting really weird. And it felt disjointed because of it. And then they like did something, I won't spoil it, but they did something at the end, and it was like, wait, what are you doing? And then they like introduced these other things, and it was like a good concept executed very poorly, because it felt like they were trying so hard to just dump and get to the MCU to do it, because these studio executives are so busy looking at dollar signs. They're not looking at what the journey was. The MCU didn't just start off and was like, oh, MCU, we are here now. It took time to build to what they are. Until Avengers, I mean, they didn't even have $1 billion movie. Like, it was a building process, and one of the only universes, there's only two universes I can think of, maybe three I can think of that are more modern, that follow that formula to a beautiful degree. One of them is, and this is not my, like I said, these are not my opinions, these are just the facts. Harry Potter did a great job connecting, but it's all one story, right? The Monsterverse actually does a pretty good universe build-up story, and, you know, Godzilla vs. Kong, knocking it out the park. Now, another one, whether people like it or not, like I said, these aren't opinions, these are just facts. You just need to accept them. I don't like that movie. I don't like that movie. I don't care what you like right now. We're talking facts here. Transformers, factually dominant franchise. Now you can go, oh, they suck. I don't care. It's a dominant franchise, multi-billion dollars. As a matter of fact, they hit more billion-dollar films in the beginning than Marvel did. So yeah, they've had one movie that did actually underperform from the expectations, and it wasn't Bumblebee. It was the what was that, Last Night, I think it was. So you got that right there. And Fast and Furious. And people can say whatever they want. I don't care. Like I said, once again, I don't care if you like it. The facts are the facts. Fast and Furious is a dominant franchise. Like, those movies write their own checks. They've had multi-billion dollars. They've had over 700 million. The spinoff did well. It's a strong franchise. Now, Fast and Furious came back after a hiatus after Tokyo Drift, for example. But they were able to build it to get it to go further, because they utilized what worked, and they still did a kind of a slow build. They went back, they fixed up, like they kind of built it. And that's the thing that I find so weird about most of these studios. It's like they don't understand what Marvel had to do, even though Marvel laid the plan. They literally laid it out right in front of you. They literally laid it out right in front of you what to do. You build it up. You don't dump everything into one thing. So Marvel had Iron Man, and Marvel had the Incredible Hulk, right? Now, did they do a little tiny bit of connection? Yeah. You watched Incredible Hulk, which by now, sorry if it's talking spoilers, if you haven't watched it by now, that's on you. But they turn around, and they got that thing where they did the Captain America thing, where the Super Search thing was just kind of more off the Ultimates. Everyone keeps saying they copied off of Hickman's run. I'm like, a lot of this is from the Ultimates. But, you know, whatever. So, now you got that. Right? Right. And they did these little connective tissues. They had the thing show up with the Iron Man at the end, and that's how they did it. little bit by little bit, more and more and more and more. Some of these studios, like the Dark Universe Mummy one, it was like, we're going to introduce this group, and introduce Hyde, and introduce this character, and also put this, and then also do that, and I'm like, you're doing too much in one film. You can take a film, establish a little bit, and then push it from there. So it makes sense. I hope now that they do have that one guy running the show, because he said that was the thing. Nobody was planning. Everybody was announced. Bosses were like, these are what I want done. Kind of typical corporate stuff. We want all these numbers done. Okay, have you ever done this job? Do you know what it's like? Do you know how hard it is to get to that number? Do you know what we got to go through? No, just make it happen. And that's one of the issues with studios, corporations, and things. The people in charge half the time have no idea how things work, like at all. And they're always demanding, I want these numbers, I want this. And what you saw was what happened. Now, you can love the DC movies, you can hate the DC movies. But that's why some of them individually were like really good, and other ones felt like for some people, like, wait a minute, huh? Because it was broken up. They kind of connected it, and they were doing it off the seat of their pants. So hopefully in the future they have learned their lesson. I doubt it. But I hope they did, because we might get something good out of this. And that's what I would like. Especially after that dude admitting it, it's not uncommon, it's not unfathomable that they didn't have everything together in a plan, because you would constantly see them go, okay, we're gonna announce this. Now they just did it recently. Well, now we cancel the trades. Now we cancel this. Like, I'm like, no, y'all need to sit down and go, okay, we need to plot out the next 5 to 10 years. I would say actually 10 years. How are we going to do that? What's been hits? Wonder Woman 1, Wonder Woman 2, we kind of had a misstep. The review is coming. It got jacked up again. Sorry. I know it's late, but it got jacked up again. But I'm going to get it right this time. And then it's like, okay, cool. 10 years. They were smart. They would base everything around the Snyder Cut and what the Snyder Cut set up. Keep the ones that hit. Aquaman. Wonder Woman's fine. Even Wonder Woman 84, like, people give it all types of over hell. I'm like, no, the movie was just It wasn't, like, terrible. It just wasn't as good as the first movie. The first movie was just so much better. Because I personally think letting Patty take too much power, a director having that much power over the script and not normally writing scripts, is not the best way to go. But I'll get into that in my review. So I just think that they need to turn around, put this all together, sit down and go, let's plot out the next 10 years. What has worked? Okay, Aquaman definitely is a banger. We want to continue that. All right, we need to get Flash off the ground. We need to get this. We need to get that. Okay, so we know these things are here. We're going to have to replace Cyborg. We're going to do, and really set it and plot it out. And don't just sit. Actually, to be honest with you, they shouldn't even announce it. Like, that whole announcing thing, you've now burned yourself. Just be like, listen, we have a universe coming out. Unless something's coming out within 2 years, don't announce it. So if you got 2 movies, like, guess what? These movies are coming out in the next 2 years, maybe 2 to 3 years. That's it. And focus. And have everyone who's working, every director, every writer, everyone who's working, sit down, come together and go, how are we going to do this? I say you get Snyder, you get, Patty. Honestly, I think y'all should get James Gunn. I think that guy just has a mind for this kind of thing. And I think he has probably some strong ideas. Even get Berlanti. And just sit down and be like, how are we going to plot? We want everything to be synergized. We want the TV shows and all this. Literally, sit through everything and go, how are we going to make this? Since this is the worlds of DC and no longer just the DCEU, how will we make this work and connect and feel like it's one thing yet separate? Do like a workshop for like a week and really plot it out. Have a plan, clear, concise, and then have some plan B's and C's just in case something may not be a hit banger. And you got it. But after that dude revealed that, I was like, I'm not surprised. They screwed up the writing. They did a lot of stuff. I'm not shocked. So hopefully they get it together. I like, right now you're on a high with Godzilla vs. Kong and with, Snyder Cut. Let's see if they can take it home. This is the Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. And I will see you.